Good afternoon, fourth grade. We're going to continue reading in our text about the American Revolution. Before we get started, we already completed our quick write as a whole class about what we thought we knew about the American Revolution, and by the end of the lesson, we'll be able to confirm or add new ideas about the American Revolution. All right, and so we are now ready for our focus question that says, how did the war in the New World affect the American colonies and colonists in North America? How did the war in the New World affect the American colonists in North America? And so we have three vocabulary words. The first word is foe. That's an enemy or opponent. The second word is rebellion. That's an act of violence against the government. So that would be this picture. And the third word is recognition. That's when you identify someone, you give them, props or encouragement. And so that would be this picture. Make sure you have lines drawn to each picture from the right word. Turn the page and you should have your notes, your text page out on your desk. And before we get started reading, for every nonfiction text that we have, we're going to ask a how or why question about the title. And that's going to help us find the main idea. So our title is War in the New World. And so we're going to turn this title into a question that starts with how or why. And so the question I came up with is, how did war in the New World affect the American colonists in North America? Press pause to write down your answer or to the question and play when you're ready for the main idea. And you can also get that question from right here, today's focus question. And as we're reading, we're going to underline our answer, and that's going to be our main idea. Let's get ready to read. I'm at whenever. Whenever France and England were at war, their American colonies also fought. The Great 7 Years' War, which started in 1754, saw the two mighty empires clash on land and at sea. Known as the French and Indian War in America, the French won major battles early on. When, however, the British colonists and redcoat soldiers outnumbered their foe, they became too strong for the French, causing French strongholds such as Quebec to become British possessions. With the coming of peace, there would still be Indian uprisings, but the American colonies were strong as never before. So we'll stop right there. It says, how did war in the New World affect the American colonists in North America? And our text tells us that the American colonists had to fight in the war. So we would underline this first sentence, and for our main idea in box 1, we would write, the war in the New World affected the American colonists because they had to participate and fight. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for box 2. Box 2 says, what does the author mean by the term redcoat soldiers? And if we go back in the text and find the word redcoat soldiers, we'll need to read the sentence to figure out who the redcoat soldiers are. It says, when, however, the British colonists and redcoat soldiers outnumbered their foe, they became too strong for the French. We'll stop right there. So we know that the British colonists had to fight with the British soldiers in the war against their foe, France. So when it says British colonists and redcoat soldiers outnumbered their foe, the French, we know that the redcoat soldiers are the British soldiers. And so in box 2A, we would write, the author is referring to the British soldiers when he says redcoat soldiers. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for 2B. 2B says, what does the author mean by the phrase causing French strongholds such as Quebec to become British possessions? And so if we need to go back in our text and find this. And so a stronghold and Quebec, that means the same thing. And we know Quebec is a French city. And so that French city, Quebec, became a British possession. That means the British took over Quebec. France lost the battle and the British took over Quebec. They possessed it. So in 2B, we would write, the author means that the British Army and American colonists defeated the French army and took over the city of Quebec. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for box 3. 3A says, how did Great Britain win the French and Indian War? And we'll go back, and it says in our text, the French won battles early on. And then our author tells us how the British actually won. When, however, the British colonists and redcoat soldiers outnumbered their foe, they became too strong for the French. And so we know that the British colonists and the British soldiers, they had more people than the French, and that is how they were able to keep taking over the cities, as they had more people. So in 3A, we would write, Great Britain won the French and Indian War because she was able to take over so much of the French's territory that the French surrendered. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for 3B. It says, what challenges did the American colonists face after the French and Indian War? If we go back after the war ends, we have this last sentence in our text that says, with the coming of peace, that means the war ended because there was peace. There would still be Indian uprisings when the American colonies, but the American colonies were strong as never before. So we know one challenge is that the American colonists still had conflicts with the Native Americans. In 3B, we would write, the American colonists still had to deal with conflicts with the Native Americans. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for box 4. In box 4, it says, what is the author's perspective of the American colonists? Use evidence from the text to support your answer. If we go back to that last sentence, it says, but the American colonies were strong as never before. And that lets me know that the author has a positive perspective of the American colonists. The author believes that the American colonists are going to be successful no matter what. So in box 4, I would write, the author believes that the American colonists are brave and strong because he states, but the American colonies were strong as never before. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for the paragraph. The paragraph states, how did the war in the New World affect the American colonists in North America? And so you would use your main idea as your topic sentence, and you would use details from the text to support your answer.